Good afternoon, WayPoint Digital viewers, and welcome to the channel. As you can see, we've made a few updates here, and we're just going to get right into it. So in this channel, we talk about the TraveLog, things that we do while we're on the road, the not financial advice, the way that we fund these operations, as well as some seed theories. But in this regard, I think we like to update that maybe some of these seed theories are no longer seed theories, but really it's kind of more applicable to a lot of the things that we do and kind of help us prepare for a lot of the things that are going on. So, with that being said, let's get into the salty information that will help us get through the day. So, the first thing I'm going to go over is actually the travelogue segment. And I think this is something that we got to talk about a little bit further. And it's these are important topics that I think if you're traveling for a long period of time, it makes sense to go over these types of things. So the first thing that I want to talk about is good to have skills. Now, one of the ways that I pass my day, and because I like to work with my hands, one of the things that I did was actually build some shelving. And this video is actually just a quick demo of so I did a little bit of programming, and this is a VR experience actually that's hosted online. So if you have a headset, you'll be able to see this. But one of the things that I wanted to do was study what the shelving was going to look like, or if I was going to change the design. And what this is actually a just a quick review to see what it would look like. And obviously, in this instance, I actually removed the roof. Another thing that I want to point out, and this is actually an important one, is that when you travel, with electronic equipment like laptops and things like that, one of the questions that security asks before you board the plane, or before you get to the gate, is whether or not you actually got your laptop repaired. And for whatever security reason that's out there, they do ask that, and they also ask if you do get it repaired, did you get equipment installed? One of the great things that you can teach yourself is how to do some minor repairs. And this is actually what I did to one of the laptops that I had. And I obviously have some tools out in Ecuador because I go there quite often. But as you can see, I had to completely gut, or at least gut a portion of this laptop to make sure that it was working correctly. But there's something to keep in mind that they will ask that security question, and it kind of just was brought to my attention and didn't really talk about it before. I know that I like to work with my hands and things like that, but something to just take into consideration when you're out on the road, that you will encounter, or hopefully that you don't encounter some of these issues where you do have to make repairs. And that was something that I had to do with several computers that I had. So something to keep in mind. And this is what the laptop looked like afterwards. So, and I purchased myself a cool little notebook with a mech on there. They got really great notebooks out there. So I know the topic that you guys like to talk, that you guys like to hear about a lot, is the not financial advice. And I think one of the parts that we have to talk about are the bigger companies that are out there, that we're very well aware of. And we might have some reservations in regards to some of the operational things that these companies do. But I really wanted to be able to point out some key aspects about these companies. And the first one that I want to talk about is actually Amazon. So as you know, or you should know, I'd be surprised if you didn't, but Amazon has a lot of different products on their service, and this is not an endorsement at all. This is just a quick observation about some of the services and products that they offer. Now, keep in mind, Amazon does have, right, their own products that they sell on their platform. Very similar to, if you go to a grocery store, you have the branding from that particular company, like Walmart and things like that. And what they do is private labeling. So a manufacturer will package their goods, but it will have the Walmart branding. So in very similar vein to Amazon, we do come across that type of issue. But one of the things that I really wanted to bring up in regards to Amazon is that there's a lot more services that are provided besides the products that they sell. And one of those is actually free games every month. So if you guys are a gamer and you guys haven't gone onto the Amazon train in regards to having if you have a Prime membership, you're actually going to get 7 to 10 games a month on top of all the free digital stuff that you get on top of those games that you have. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. And a juggernaut such as Amazon is going to have the resources and the ability to be able to grow a lot of these services that they provide. But another thing to keep in mind, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and Amazon's this big company. But one of the things to keep in mind is some of the value added aspects that Amazon provides that would otherwise be overlooked when we have certain opinions about companies, right? And one of those is that a lot of these companies that are on Amazon are actually smaller businesses that provide products and services. Now, of course, Amazon takes a piece of that pie to have products showcased on their website. However, again, just something to keep in mind. So across the board, I think one of the reasons why Amazon became such a large entity is the value added across the board. And I'm an Amazon user myself, so there's nothing hiding about stuff like that. And I do enjoy the ability to receive products kind of in a very short time window. I mean, who would have thought, right? In at the age that I'm in right now, right, that we would get products delivered to us within the next day, within a week, maybe less than a week, maybe even on the same day. And it might have to travel halfway across the world. So it's kind of a unique aspect where, Amazon has really affected kind of the whole product supply chain that's out there and continues to improve that, and also challenges other companies to be able to deliver to that same degree. And Walmart being one of them, that's really trying to push the envelope. But on top of that, we also want to look at the performance of Amazon over the course of just a little over a year, and what they look like. And during that time frame, one of my buddies asked me what company he should buy. Again, not financial advice, but if you bought Amazon about a year ago, you would have nearly doubled your money. So, somewhere around $1,500, right? If you purchased around March when the downturn happened, and right now it's dipped a little bit, but it's $3,200. So again, something to keep in mind. I know that maybe some people might have reservations towards these larger companies, but they're large companies for a reason. And over the course of time, the competition does increase. But one of the things that distinguishes them from a lot of different places, right, that are kind of on the come up, is that one, they have the resources, but on top of that, as they try to stay on top, one of the things that they will do is improve their products and services, and that's not including the stronghold that Amazon has on the cloud service provider, even toppling companies like Google as well. So something to kind of just put in your mindset over there as we proceed forward. So might make sense, in my opinion, to maybe have one or two of these larger companies, or maybe have all of them, to kind of hedge some of the more uh, risky plays, if you guys are into that. My honest opinion on that. The next one, Facebook, and I'm sure we're all aware that basically almost everybody in the world is on Facebook. Actually, about half of the world. They got 3.5 billion users on Facebook. But another thing that I want to point out, if people weren't aware, is that Facebook actually owns Oculus, so the Oculus brand, and that includes the Oculus Quest 2, the Oculus app, and associated hardware. And you're probably wondering why I have the Steam hardware and software survey over here. So one of the great things about the Steam platform is that they provide data in regards to the users that are on their platform. But on top of that, what they do is they actually do a survey of hardware users and the types of computers and things like that are on that platform that people are using. And the number that I wanted to kind of key in on is the amount of users that are using the Oculus Quest 2, the Oculus Quest, and then the Oculus Rift. And as you can see, just on this data alone, the Oculus Quest 2 takes up more than 32% of the users on the headset. And I'll be the first to admit as well, I have an HTC Vive, but the thing that I travel with is the Oculus Quest 2. And one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg did announce was this thing called the metaverse that they're putting some energy into. And on top of that, they've actually, I talked with my father about this most recently, but one of the things that Oculus is going to be doing is they're going to be discontinuing support for developing apps for the PC. But many reasons being that, yeah, I mean, people who are buying the Oculus Quest 2 are possibly not using their PC, their higher power PC, because most people probably won't have those, because to get a high powered PC to run VR, you're spending $500 plus. So on top of buying the Oculus Quest, any applications that you are looking to buy, you're going to start to creep up that price in regards to that. But the reason why I bring this up, because VR is actually a fairly new category, and there's a lot of capabilities that the headset has on top of the number of users that Facebook has on their platform. So keep in mind, so Facebook owns Facebook, Facebook owns Instagram, and Facebook owns Oculus and WhatsApp. So if you just kind of think about those four different things that Facebook owns, those are some of the most highly used applications or platforms that people are on. So again, if you have reservations about some of the things that they do, it's also kind of take a step back, right? Look at a lot of these different aspects that these companies are involved in, and kind of understand, there's a potential there to make some money. As I've purchased Facebook a long time ago, so kind of full disclosure on that regard. But something to keep in mind that they're a winner take all. I think one of the things that we have to take into consideration about these large companies, it's a winner take all kind of field that they're in. And that's I think part of the reason, or I should say that it is part of the reason why they have so many users and things like that. But on top of that too, I wanted to point this out. So one of the core libraries for HTML CSS is actually React. So a lot of websites actually use the libraries that Facebook has developed. So obviously there's like Angular, there's Bootstrap, and whatever else. But keep in mind, like I said, there's a series of libraries that a number of websites use, and it's actually owned and authored by Facebook. So with that in mind, again, if we look at the performance of Facebook, just kind of in a year time frame, if we were talking about in comparison to Amazon, same sort of trajectory. And also keep in mind they generate revenue very consistently throughout. So while they might be losing some money selling Oculus Quest headsets as they continue to develop that platform, they are consistently growing their revenue stream across their platforms that people use on a worldwide basis. For example, you go outside the U.S., everybody uses WhatsApp. Despite Telegram and all those other services that are out there, WhatsApp is still the go-to standard, regardless of what you guys think about Facebook. So kind of keep in mind, supposedly the information is encrypted, but it does enter into their servers, and it's a closed closed system, so it's not open source. And little digression here, but Telegram, their front end code is actually open source, but their back end server side code is not. So, take it for what it is, but just kind of wrap that around your head a little bit. And, you know, there's, on the combination of, good and bad that comes from these larger companies, you're going to find that a bunch of institutions, including individual investors, will have Facebook. So whether you're going to play the swing trade or day trade situation, my honest opinion of these larger companies are very good long-term strategy for a portfolio. If and like I said, kind of take your prejudices, you know, away and just kind of look at things kind of in a more logical sense. It's very difficult to avoid any of these larger companies, especially in our daily lives, considering that in most cases, I would have to say that they actually do improve our lives. For instance, being able to connect with people across the world with a service that's provided quote unquote for free. However, what we give up is our data to be able to transmit information from where we are to the other side of the world. So it's a huge trade off, right? And I hate that. I don't want to say hate, but one of the lines that really annoys me that I see a lot online is, if you're getting the product for free, you're the product. It's like, no, it's really they're selling the product back to you. You just enjoying it more and more. Okay. So now we have Google. This one's a little bit different. Okay. So I didn't go to the Amazon or Facebook website. I went to the Amazon and Facebook website talking about them, but the one that's very interesting here also is Google. And this one I wanted to show because this is the submarine cable map across the world. And I know a lot of people might think that it's all magic and it flies up in the air. In some regards, it is kind of magic. It is a very interesting thing. But the way we communicate with the world or transmit data back and forth to you know uh, the internet, phone lines, and things like that, well, there's just cables underneath the ocean. And this is a map of all the cables that run across the world. And basically, there's major connecting points, obviously, to certain areas. And the reason why I bring this up because there was recent news that Google was actually expanding their cables that go into South America. Come on, kind of coincidentally, and maybe they're recognizing that there might be a demand for their services that they provide. And again, so not only are they a software company, but they are involved in the infrastructure. Now they did have an unsuccessful run to try to overthrow companies like Verizon or kind of the older company that's been in existence like the Verizons and the AT&Ts. And one of the places that Google was trying to add fiber to, or I should say, one of the places that Google added, um, excuse me, optical fiber into infrastructure is in Texas. And it didn't go as far as the plan the plan demanded. And part of the reason for that, it's a heavily regulated industry, but it actually shows that Google was in the mode of not only you know baking the cake that they provide for people, but they're also looking to build the ovens to be able to deliver that as well. But they were squelched in Austin, I think, was in parts of North Carolina and Tennessee were some of the areas that actually have Google Fiber in the infrastructure. But again, there was plans to expand it. This was years ago, but they're still involved in the submarine cable connections across different countries. So something to keep in mind. But on that same note, let's look at what they are in the chart here. So in very similar fashion, you've actually would have doubled, you would have almost doubled your investment if you bought back in March. And again, try to imagine a world where we didn't have these services from these large companies, and it'd be a lot different. For a lot of people, I think there's a good majority of people that are trying to get away from some of these services that these companies provide. And it's very difficult to wind your way away from those because not only, like I said, do they bake the cake, but they also build the ovens to make those cakes. So again, so if Facebook has React, um, Alphabet has the V8 JavaScript syntax, right? So again, so that they authored it, they've improved the performance of code, but on top of that, they're providing hardware. So they do provide, obviously phones and things like that. But it's hard to argue. It's really hard to argue whether you're a C theorist or not, that you know there's a lot of really great things that these companies provide. In many instances, yes, it's for free. However, again, and several friends, family members have questioned whether what companies they think is a good decision. And like I said, if you look at it just across the board, right, you're going to have a very difficult time um, removing yourself from these brands, not only because they make a lot of things more convenient, but essentially, my honest opinion is that a lot of their products and services are just, bar none, just amazing. And obviously, there's trade offs with that, where Google collects a lot of data. And keep in mind too, you can actually claim all your data back and download it. It might be quite large and things like that. Whether it's all the searches you've ever done or anything like that. But something to keep in mind that you can, and they do provide it for you, and you can pull yourself away from it. But it's going to be very difficult to, because their products and services are really good. But you should take into consideration as an investor, in my opinion, no, not financial advice, that to at least take a look at some of these larger companies. And to top it off, so I wanted to add a little bonus out there, and actually a company that I've actually been losing a little bit of money on is, we're going to talk a little bit about blockchain, the blockchain technology. And one of the names that do come in mind, besides some company like Robinhood, is Coinbase. So Coinbase is a U.S. based company, and they have a number of different cryptocurrencies available for trading and purchasing. To be honest, I've said it before, and I've said it again now. I like Coinbase. Their web based application is great, but I find that their phone one is just, I don't know, the performance on it is really bad. But I wanted to point out that there's actually one other company to actually look at that competes with Coinbase, and that's Voyager. Victory Yankee Golf Victory Foxtrot. Yeah. Um, you know what? I also have a Voyager account, and believe it or not, the application itself on the phone actually worked pretty well, in my opinion. I find the user interface to be a lot more user friendly. However, there are situations where their servers are down, and I think part of the reason is because the demand for crypto trading has increased quite dramatically, and it's basically just overloaded their servers to be able to handle that. So in certain situations, if the activities it, for crypto trading has increased in certain situations, and it's not just Voyager, it's actually across the board. You're gonna experience this. Um, but a company to keep in mind, and also if we just look at it from a yearly basis, they were as high as, what was that, 27 $28. So it moves. This is a stock that actually moves pretty dramatically. Um, sometimes it's you have a catalyst, like just news just pops up, but something to just look out for. All right. So I hope that information was informative, And last but not least, and this is actually not a C theory at all. It's more of a fact now, or it is a fact, I should say. But I'm gonna just summarize an excerpt from a posting from the CDC, and this has a lot more to do with kind of prepping for what the travel situation is going to be uh, moving forward, because it's a moving target. I mean, let's be honest, right? But the PCR test in the USA, and as you can see, this is actually posted on the CDC website, and I did save a copy, a PDF copy for myself. But basically, they're going to be ending the PCR test, and um, leading up to the day that I was stuck in Ecuador, and even to this day when I got back into the U.S., the PCR test was a requirement to be able to travel, on top of wearing masks at the airport and the in the airplane. So I'm not going to read it. Like I said, I'm just going to summarize it. But basically, the end of this year, they're done using the PCR test. So what's going to be the requirement when we're traveling internationally? What are the changes that are going to happen when we go to these other countries? Are they going to change? Are they going to continue? And that's something that really, for me, I'm just trying to figure that out. And I'm not doing this as in the context of actually a C theory. It's really in the context of, well, what I have to plan for the future. I did come across this piece of news probably a week or two ago, and I finally got the chance to be able to talk about it a little bit further. And you can obviously Google DuckDuckGo this press release here from the CDC. So again, it's more of, what do I got to do? What are the changes that are going to happen over the course of 6 months or going into the next year? Are there going to be situations where they're going to be a requirement for a different test, or a quote unquote other type of passport that we have to have to travel internationally? And I want to get ahead of it before the time comes, because we know that time moves very quickly, and December 31st will happen just as fast as as we know it. I've been in the U.S. for 2 weeks, and I feel like it's like a blink of an eye. So yeah, that's a combination of different topics out there. And another thing to keep in mind too, I think one of the reasons too that we want to keep up with some of these testings is also to determine what companies are going to benefit from these types of changes, right? Because if the PCR test, regardless of whatever the results are, right? At this stage, it's going to happen. They're going to change it. But now, for me, I'm looking at like, well, what's the next thing, and that might be some opportunities that we can take advantage of as the time passes before that change occurs. So that is the C theory, which isn't really a C theory. It's just a fact that the CDC is going to be ending the requirement for the PCR test, because of the results not really providing definitive answers to the results. So that's all I got for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed that piece of content. And make sure to like and subscribe. Help the algorithms and things like that. And be on the lookout for next week's video. Thank you guys very much.